Peace YouTube, this is Fleur Bruin coming to you today for another topic of discussion. I know I'm coming to you like almost back to back to back. So much going on in the world. So check on in, okay? Check on in. I actually have a stationary camera thing. Wow, hey, Ethereal. Hey, Omni Mystery. Hey, Kay. Hey, Phlegmatic. Jessica. Truth Seeker. All right, check on in. We're gonna get in conversation because it's diabolical out there. We're gonna get in conversation about, hey Oz, hey Linda, hey Lawanda, hey Tamia, hey Lija, hey Nefertiti, Nefenti, hey Cadillac, hey Susu. I like saying Susu, okay? So we're gonna get in conversation today about vaccinations and the worldwide agenda. And I just had to make this alert. I had a friend of mine, their son is traveling to Australia, and you know, I did the research and they're coming from Brazil. So this is one of my friend's son who's actually from Brazil, from where I was staying in Brazil. And it's interesting that when I went to Brazil, I'll wait until a few more people check in and then I'll start the conversation, because some people come in and be like, what are you talking about? Hey, Cypher, terrestrial. So, I forgot my cup. Everybody cleared their space yesterday. Everybody enjoyed the burn and bury. Burn and bury for, you know, remember, it's still the lunar eclipse energy. So if you haven't burned and buried your woes and the things that aren't serving your greatest and highest good, you still have time to burn and bury. So make sure you clear yourself off so that this conversation is so much easier. Okay, so we're going to get into to the diabolical agenda of the AI. The AI has a worldwide agenda, and apparently it is going full throttle right now. And the precipice, the catalyst for even this conversation live is big up to Michael. It's a friend of mine, their son. They're traveling to Australia from Bahia, Brazil, where I was. And he was saying to me that there was a requirement for him to get a yellow fever vaccine. And I said, what? You're coming from South America. You're going to Australia. If yellow fever was anywhere around, it's usually in the hot, more tropical, southernmost base of countries, places, and you would have had to, why would they have you get vaccinated when you are in a place where that would be prevalent? Do you understand what I'm saying? So he's already in South America. Why would he have to go and take a yellow fever vaccine all the way in Australia? So he's concerned. He's a young man. This is where I want to make this video, because a lot of our children, some of you have, I have young little ones still that travel with me, but a lot of you have children that are going out there traveling right now, or yourselves. So this is a conversation we need to really get into. And remember, when I traveled to South America, when I went to Brazil, there wasn't any requirement for me to get a vaccination. I went to South America, I was in Brazil, and I was bitten by every mosquito. I was bitten by mosquitoes in the jungle. I was bitten by mosquitoes outside the jungle. I was bitten by every species, probably geoengineered, and I am here to speak to you and say that it is a bunch of smoke and mirrors, okay? There's an agenda undergoing, and it is AI based. This young man was told that he isn't able to go to Australia, and the government will be checking to see if he had a yellow fever vaccination. So, you know, Fleur Bruin is all about investigation. I was like, wait a second, we're in Brazil. Notice I said we're in Brazil, because I consider that to be my home based right now. We're in Brazil, and you're going to Australia, so you have to get a vaccination for yellow fever. So I had to do an investigation, family. So I actually have the site up of all the countries requiring for you to get a vaccination. Now, many of you remember, I don't know if I made this announcement on, I don't know if I made the announcement on YouTube or on IG. I can't remember. Sometimes I come on IG or I come on YouTube and I don't remember what I'm doing or where I'm at. But I remember making the conversation about when I flew out of Bahia into Brasilia, I noticed that when I was waiting for my bags, there was a huge announcement that took a long time. And it wasn't about bags, it wasn't about flights, it was about vaccinations. So I was in shock because I've traveled abroad before and I've never seen them make such a big deal out of, oh wait, Gail, I see you on here. I couldn't open up while you're on here, Gail, because Gail is big up to our Sea Star who's living in actually, I forget our states, Arizona, Arizona. We did a whole video on, she actually came in as a guest on Aquarius Rizing. We talked about vaccinations, how it relates to children. Gail, if you get a chance, can you put it on here? Because I can't see it up here. Or maybe I'll pull it in. I'll try to pull it in via my laptop. They're putting stuff through vaccinations to control us. Thank you. Yes, Gail. Okay, so Gail is texting me at the same time. I love when we're all uniformed as parents, like mothers unite. The sisterhood is online. So listen, so right now I noticed that they made a big announcement when I was sitting in Brasilia. They made it in every language. Obviously Portuguese, they had it in Spanish, then they had it in some other language, I think it was German, and then English. And I was in shock because it was such a long announcement about how many vaccines you should get. If you had signs of fever, you should run to this. I haven't ever been to an airport where that was propaganda. Mind you, I haven't been to Africa yet. So maybe in Africa, this is something that may show up. I don't know. So for those who've traveled to like Egypt, to New Guinea, because we have a lot of Sea Stars and Sun Stars who are from South Africa and from Kenya, Nairobi. So if any of you know who've traveled to Africa, can you tell me if they've had announcements in the airports? Because I haven't ever heard it here or when I've traveled abroad in Central South America or in the Caribbean. Okay, so they made a huge announcement. So Michael contacts me, the young man who's a friend's son. He's 18, he's traveling abroad, he's doing, I love it. I support all your children traveling. I think it's amazing. Aw, thank you, Natoya. I appreciate it. Very important message. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, love. So, Michael's traveling abroad and I'm concerned. So his mom she doesn't travel as much and she knows that I'm a traveling NISA and they really have much trust in me that I'll find out information relative to his safety and his well-being. So as I'm looking, family, if you notice, I pulled up, hold on. Here we go. It's called Travel Docs. You can pull this up yourself. These are destination countries and vaccinations to travel. Now, I'm going to give you a list of countries that are requiring vaccinations. Now, mind you, let me bring this up again. Flurburn wasn't required when I traveled to, it's called TDS. It's where you go for your visas, passports, how you know how to travel with countries, called TDS. And this is for travel, it's called Travel Document Systems, okay? So pull that up if you wanna look along with me. So as I'm pulling up the list, and I'm noticing when I went, there wasn't any requirement for me to get any vaccinations. Mind you, we gotta take in consideration that the majority of, wait a second, Walgreens is telling people to get their whooping cough. What the heck? Okay, so we got a mass thing. I'm personally thinking that they're not telling Americans to get vaccinations abroad to some of these places because we're already we're in a country that's super vaccination based. So basically most Americans are over vaccinated anyway. So that's why I think that it wasn't necessarily a requirement for me to go to the country and get vaccinations. It wasn't even a conversation when I traveled, and I had gotten my, I had also gotten my visa at the time, which isn't required for Americans to travel to Brazil anymore. Okay, so that's interesting in itself. Thank you for that. Walgreens is now so we're over vaccinated here. Now we have a young man coming from a place where supposedly yellow fever would be, because the Amazon, if you know anything about Brazil, in South America, you got everything going on. It's hot, it's tropical, whatever would be in the tropics. If I'm not being required to get vaccinations to go to Brazil, why the heck would a young man have to get vaccinations to go from one really tropical place where there's probably more things going on in South America than Australia, which is more dry, less tropically based as far as I'm knowing. Along the coast it'd be more tropical. In the middle it's very dry and desert-like, okay? So I found out there's definitely an agenda. Also, you got to take in consideration that all this propaganda going about whooping cough, Walgreens, you can go in any store right now, and all you see in a lot of these pharmaceutical places, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, is tons of free vaccinations for flu vaccine. They're already starting to propaganda flu because, you know, they create the flu. And then all they do is propaganda. And I personally think every time they vaccinate somebody for the flu, they basically are putting the pandemic out there. Basically, they're putting you and making you the petri dish and just open it up and let it air out by putting it inside of one person. They're basically expressing it out in the environment. If you stop giving people flu vaccines, maybe you wouldn't see the flu come around so often. And I haven't seen as many flu vaccines as not the type or the actual version of the flu that's ever remedied. So it's not working. Okay, United States of America, it isn't working. So we go into this. So I want to read some of the destinations, and this is very interesting. I think this is a conversation we need to have as mothers. Many of you know I had gotten an exemption for my daughters when they were very little, exemption from vaccinations. They had some, because I know that I do travel, and I do realize there's certain things that when they were very little that I had a concern about, but now as a mother who's much more knowledgeable and vetted, is that if you have a healthy immune system as a parent, and many of us born in the 80s and 70s and 60s, I think 70s, I think the 70s might have been the last wave. So 80s and 70s, we all were vaccinated, including our parents. So the fact of the matter is, your immune system and your antibodies are passed along to your offspring. Your offspring usually have the same heightened immune system or antibodies or buildup of it in their own bodies because they come from you. That is what I've known to be. So just pushing the propaganda of getting vaccination generation after generation in itself isn't necessary if we take in consideration that genomes pick up adaptations. So if I've been vaccinated for TB, and my mother was, chances are I've created an adaptation or an immunity to something like that, and my children will have that adaptation in their gene pool. This is just my opinion. I'm not a doctor. I did research for a long period of time though, okay, in a laboratory. So now we have people coming abroad, and I personally also mentioned when I was living in Brazil, in Bahia. Big up to Paula. One thing I noted is that there was a conversation because there was tons of propaganda. That's another thing. I'm in Bahia, just walking around, and I'm noticing signs for vaccinations on the walls, like, you know, on the poles, the telephone poles or what have you, all over the place. And then we're overhearing a conversation, which Paula kind of identified, where they were talking, there were people talking about vaccinations, parents. And when we asked, I wanted to find out, because Paula had found out that a lot of the women were giving birth to children that had blood issues with their blood. Now, as far as Zika is concerned, I will tell you what I saw. There wasn't any baby, listen, and just what I visually saw, staying for over a month in Brazil, basically a month in Brazil, in Bahia, the most tropical, because the north is more tropical like our south. There wasn't any baby that I personally witnessed that displayed any Zika in their visual or in the way that they showed up or they were displayed. Let me explain to you again. I traveled to a country. I wasn't asked if I was pregnant. I wasn't asked if I had any health issues. I traveled to Brazil, booked my ticket. I had to go and get a visa at the time. You don't need it now, but I had to get a visa. There wasn't any question if I was pregnant. There wasn't any propaganda or telling me that I required it if I was or wasn't. And when I went to the country, which is the most tropical part, I didn't see any children displaying any physical displays of Zika infections. Because remember, they were saying the children's heads are bigger than, I hadn't seen it. Okay, and I was around the hood. So in the hood, you normally would see things happening with genetic, you know, because they like to experiment more on people who are less socioeconomically powerful. I hadn't seen it. But what I did notice is that the children, the mother, okay, I want to stay focused. All of the mothers had to get a vaccination during their pregnancies in Bahia. Listen to me again. We asked quite a number of women, and we asked some husbands if it was required for you to get a vaccination when pregnant. Everyone we talked to said yes. Even the woman who was actually from Rio, I spoke to a couple from Rio. Big up to the couple from Rio. They were beautiful, wonderful. I'm gonna go hopefully see them when I go up there. But they even said, and this is a very conscious woman, she actually was raised in California. Her family was Brazilian, but she was raised mostly in Cali. She said that she opted to not get it, but she was, she wasn't, no, she didn't have children, I'm sorry. She heard about it through her girlfriends, I'm sorry, okay? So not only are they vaccinating regular people and children, they're now, and now I can understand why I saw some limited cognitive abilities amongst a lot of people of color there, probably based on the fact that they're vaccinating, they're capping the genomes and they're altering your expression, probably, intellectually, just limiting you genetically. We don't know how that shows up all the time. Everybody's very unique in how they show up genetically. They're limiting people. So they're doing that in Brazil, okay? And now we know that now they're propaganding for people to go to places like Australia and other places from hot regions, which doesn't even make sense itself, to go get yellow fever vaccination. So I'm gonna read a couple of the countries that they're telling you to get vaccinations. And also I would like to ask anyone on here, if you are someone who's traveled abroad, we have our family on here is vast. If any of you have traveled abroad recently, can you kind of check in on the commenting so we can get a general consensus as if you're from the States, if you were required to get vaccinations, if you went to Southeast Asia, like Bali, Thailand, were you required? For anyone else who travels to Africa, I would love to know what countries in Africa you traveled to, if it was a requirement for you to get any vaccinations. If you were traveling to Europe, most likely, I don't think you usually do unless it's, I haven't heard anyone having to go to Europe and get a vaccination. So if anyone is going to like Costa Rica, Central America, were you required to get a vaccination? Can you just check in on that? And as far as what other countries, I think those would be the ones that would most notably, I would hear that. So if you have, can you please check that in? And also for those who, as mothers, the exemption that I have was, Michael's on here now sending me a message. For those mothers who are in certain regions, I had obtained a exemption for my daughters in Orlando, Florida, okay? I also had the exemption in PA previous to me coming here. So I'm not sure what the requirements are because they're trying to basically take away all the exemptions. So I'm not sure how far that goes. My daughter is now entering into seventh grade. So they're requiring also a showing again of the exemptions. So I can let you know I'll let you know what's going on. But family, we have a AI weaponized program that is global now. There is several different countries now. Let me just explain this. We have a requirement. I'm going to tell you some of the countries. If you're on TDS right now, this is Travel Document Systems Inc. that I'm on right now. Okay, it's the US version. I think you guys have one abroad. The destinations that vaccinations are required. Afghanistan is required. A certificate for yellow fever is required if arriving from an infected area within 5 days. Okay, so if you're coming from any other country, I'm assuming they're saying like South America or so on, where there's a place, you are required to get a yellow fever vaccination. If you're coming from any country that's considered to be an infected area, we can find out the infected areas. Albania, there's no requirement. Algeria, vaccination certificate for yellow fever required if you're arriving from infected areas within 5 days. American Samoa, no. Angola, yellow fever. So yellow fever seems to be the general consensus here. Hold on. Yellow fever, Argentina, vaccination certificate for yellow fever required if you're arriving from an infected area within 5 days. Armenia, same thing, yellow fever, Apparently a yellow fever. I haven't heard so much about yellow fever in my life. Australia, yes, it looks like vaccinations are required, but we are not sure which ones. Check your local consult or embassy for sure. Now listen to this. This is up to date Australia. It's interesting that it says it looks like vaccinations. They don't even have a definitive requirement right now. I'm looking at the up to date TDS. It's not definitive, but they're telling this young man that he is required. I guess he had to go to his counselor, but he is coming also from South America. Also, if you take in consideration that if it was a requirement for getting vaccines, why is it that when I went to South America, there wasn't a requirement for me to get a vaccine, and I'm coming back to the States with all kinds of boogie board mosquito bites all over me? Wouldn't they have quarantined me if there was an issue of yellow fever? Do you understand what I'm saying? Wouldn't they have quarantined me from going from South America and say, you know what, you're coming back to the States, we have to quarantine you or require you to get yellow fever vaccination if that was a valid point? Do you understand what I'm saying? So why didn't I get the FYI that that was a requirement going to Brazil? And I'll tell you which one in Brazil. So we have Austria, no vaccinations required. So Austria, no. Bahamas, no vaccinations. These are more tropical areas. This is what I'm saying. Okay, hold on. Yellow fever. Apparently, yellow fever is the one, and I'm thinking there's something in the yellow fever vaccination that would probably cap you, or there's some sort of Belize. Okay, so we had a whole bunch of people who traveled to Belize. Yellow fever. Okay, so yellow fever, that's if you're coming from an infected environment. Let's see. Bolivia, yes, you require a vaccination. Malaria. Now, Botswana. Now, I do know when you go to Africa, the one thing that I've heard is that many people are required to get vaccinations. Now, I had a sister-in-law years ago who went to Africa on a retreat, and she got the vaccination for malaria, and guess what, folks? She caught malaria. So these vaccinations may not exactly be what they're telling you. I know they aren't. They're telling you they're for malaria, but she caught malaria, and you know how she was able to get rid of it because she was abroad? It was an African family who made a herbal tea for her and made her drink it and sweat it out, and the malaria disappeared, and she's an American. So this, and I could verify this because now she's grown, but she went on a trip to, I forgot what part of Africa. It wasn't Botswana, but I forgot what part she went. She was dancing, she's part of a dance group. She caught malaria. The family that she was sponsoring her gave her herbal tea for a couple days, let it sweat out, and she was fine. And she had taken a vaccination. I'm just using that as an example. Okay, so we have that. We have Brazil, vaccination certificate for yellow fever required if arriving from an infected place area within 90 days. Oh, interesting. Okay, so interesting. If Brazil is a place that is notably, you normally get yellow fever, why would they require a vaccination from other people? This doesn't make sense, family. I'm just looking at the thing. Britain doesn't require it. Brunel does. Where is this? Burkina Faso? I've never heard of this country. Cameroon, okay, all the African places. Cambodia, vaccination required. Yellow fever. These are all yellow fever. Cape Verde, yellow fever. Vaccination. Central Africa, yes. Yellow fever. So yellow fever is apparently something that is notably one of the main vaccinations. Christmas Island. Congo, yes. Yellow fever, wow. Congo, the other part of Congo. Costa Rica, yes. Yellow fever. Cuba, yes. Yellow fever. Curacao, no. Cyprus, no. Czechs, I didn't think Europe. Most of Europe, no. Djibouti, which is, I think, near Yemen in Africa, in Eastern Africa, they require for yellow fever. I think the yellow fever is code for something. Vaccination in Egypt, yes. El Salvador. So wait a second. So you don't need it. Listen, you could travel to El Salvador, which is in what is El Salvador is like the tip of South America, Central America. You could travel to El Salvador and not require a vaccination of yellow fever, which is right next door to other countries that have a requirement for yellow fever. Eritrea, yes. Ethiopia, yes. Fiji, yes. This is all for yellow fever. No vaccination from French. Listen to this. French Guyana doesn't require. Now, French Guyana is at the tip of Brazil. There is no vaccination required. Listen to this is the insidiousness. This is why they think we're idiots, because I can look at this. It doesn't make any sense. How in the French Polynesia do you not need vaccinations, but on the other island that's right next to the French Polynesia, you require vaccinations for yellow fever? I really have to go into the politics of those countries too that are requiring this. Is this some sort of AI chipping so they can watch you and monitor you when you're in their country? Because it does not make sense. Yellow fever wasn't something that, as far as, listen, I'm not saying, let me make a little sidebar. I'm not saying that yellow fever doesn't exist. It does. And remember, when I was down in South America, many of you know we were fine. We got bit up by everything. But at the same point, there's like tummy things. There's different bacteria that your body's not used to. I understand that. And I want to make sure I tell you that there is a plausibility that you will catch anything anywhere you go, based on the fact that your immune system is not really in placement of being exposed to certain elements, certain bacterium, certain, the food is different. Everything could possibly hamper your immune system anytime you travel, okay? Remember, my little one got a tummy virus that passed within 3 days. Like, she just had to keep going to the bathroom. It's like in Mexico. It's called Montessori's Revenge. She caught something and it bothered her tummy, so she was going to the bathroom for a couple days. She didn't have a fever. She got a little dehydrated. I basically hydrated her. I bought oil of oregano, which is the bomb.com. Anyone traveling, remember you were worried? Yes, I brought oil of oregano, which is antifungal, antimicrobial. I also brought silver, and I also bought, I also had made sure that I bought, what is it, when you are getting dehydrated, I forgot what it was. Remember, I was fasting on my water fast, so I had an extra box of the super electrolytes, the manual electrolytes. So I had brought them to South America with me because I know that sometimes things could hamper your immune system. So I brought the host of everything with me. So her immune system kind of washed itself of everything fairly quickly. I also took her to one of the docs down there just to have her looked at after she was already better, because I had made the appointment already, and he had just come from Orlando, Florida. Big up to the doc who I saw, a pediatrician, and she had already surpassed whatever was in her system. So I'm just saying, for a lot of people who are traveling abroad, utilizing things that we use in tinctures like oil of oregano, having things having silver, colloidal silver, things that we utilize here when you're going to another country, especially a very tropical country. Oh, YouTube is blocking. So Gail is trying to send some links. So for any of the mommies and stuff, we're going to put a host of links to those traveling, and also some word of which states are actually allowing for the exemptions. So why this video? I wanted to make this video to talk about the insidious AI, weaponized AI agenda that is global. I didn't realize how global the vaccinations went, and I personally, it's my opinion, I don't know it to be. Remember, I'm not a doctor. I'm not sitting here saying that I'm in a laboratory all day and I vetted this out. But what I know it to be, as a woman, as a mother, as someone who worked in research for a long period of time with genomes and genetics and heredity, I do know that the vaccination agenda is real. They are giving people vaccinations to basically block them from remember, I told you, I personally think when you travel abroad, you travel through time, either forward or back in time. And I think that there's certain codes or certain things that come online when you travel geographically to certain locations. I think there's certain expressions in your genomes, like myself. Remember, some of my family came from Brazil. So when I landed in Brazil, my codons, my heredity, my genomes awoke. They were awakened by the very nature of me landing on a landmass that my ancestors had previously walked on. So I had all kinds of information popping out me like like popcorn popping. I had all kinds of codons coming out my head. I have a feeling the reason why they want people vaccinated is because they don't want you catching the code. Listen, they don't want you catching the code. So if you are somewhere in Brazil and you're traveling to Australia, they want you hampered. So it disallows you from registering. And also it could be a form of tagging you to watch your whereabouts, to watch you and monitor you when you're traveling. Now, the agenda inside of a country is all based on suppression. So you know that all of these, listen, when my daughter was born, when they told me she was going to get a series of 6 and 7 vaccinations, I said, what? There isn't a baby there. You don't even give cows that are vaccinated 6 and 7 different viruses at the same time. It's a newborn. From the time your baby is born, they try to give your baby, even in the hospital, they're saying, oh, no, your baby's immune system needs to kick up. Why would you put an expression of all kinds of bacterium in them, all kinds of foreign methods of mass destruction of viruses in them at such a young age, when their immune system is just kicking up? That's why when you give birth, hold on, let me drink some water. I have some cinnamon water. Ever since I got back from Brazil, I can taste all the chemicals and everything because, in the United States of America, everything's tampered. Even the organic stuff. Last night we were on IG, all the organic stuff is tampered. I can't even eat a regular meal here anymore without getting sick. Okay, so you have vaccinations with the newborn. Remember, the one thing that I knew from my mother, she said, you are not to leave home when you give birth. From the first 2 to 3 weeks, mothers are supposed to stay in a very beautiful enclave of protection, disallowing for strangers who aren't family-based to come around the baby. You're supposed to stay like that in a little cocoon, a little nurturing cocoon for the first 2 to 3 weeks. It's amazing that some mothers have to go back to work and get a host of viruses on them and come back to a baby and disallow them from nursing. Also, your nursing, your breast milk has a lot of the antibodies. So by the very nature of you supposedly being vaccinated as a mother, all those beautiful antibodies that you have built up and kicked up during the time when you were pregnant, because when you're pregnant, you actually create antibodies to be able to protect the baby when the baby's born in your milk. So by the very nature of biology, you have all of the vaccinations in your breast milk. That's why babies that are breastfed for long periods of time have less health issues than those who aren't, based on the fact that you're basically giving your babies immunization naturally through your own biology. It's just like a tree. That's why we eat fruits from trees in season, because when you eat from your local tree, everything that's kicked up environmentally, the tree will create a field of protection, almost like its own form of immunity, and it will come out in the fruit. Once you consume the fruit from your local area, everything that's aerial or sick in your environment, that fruit has basically protection against it. So Mother Nature is the best form of immunization. Oh, YouTube said my video is suitable. I saw YouTube send me a message at the same time I'm online. I was like, you're trying to get me off. So I'm just saying, mothers, we have to be careful. Whoever's traveling abroad, now there needs to be, I don't know yet, and I'm going to find out for this young man, Michael, before he travels. We're going to find out if there's any way that there is a natural form of traveling without the requirements of taking any yellow fever, because apparently yellow fever is on and popping. And I would like to ask anyone who's in Australia, who's in Africa, whether it's South Africa, New Guinea. I want to ask anyone who's now in Southeast Asia, because we have family all over the planet. I want to ask anyone in Costa Rica, when is the last time you heard of a yellow fever outbreak? Because maybe I'm just subjected to not knowing based on people who have traveled there. I'm just saying, can anyone give me a good consensus if they're seeing a massive amount of people breaking out with yellow fever? Because that isn't something I've even heard about since maybe pre 17th century that it was concerning. So if anyone's heard about it in Australia, Costa Rica, any of the Central and South American countries, please let me know if you've heard about people breaking out with yellow fever. And also for our African diaspora, can you let me know, especially as far as South Africa and also to the northeast, Morocco, Egypt, or anybody breaking out with any yellow fever? And I noticed that in the Middle East, they don't really have as many requirements. Just let me know if you've ever heard of that, because I'm really livid at this point. I am tired of them trying to keep injecting their sick agenda and force feed a way to control humanity based on their sociopathic, non-human behavior, agendas or initiatives. They have these basic requirements travel-wise. Like I'm saying, I'm looking at Ethiopia, yellow fever. Georgia, no. Okay, Germany, no vaccination. Ghana, yellow fever. Why in Africa? I thought malaria was the biggest thing. Why in Africa is yellow fever the issue and malaria isn't? So how could you have certain places? Because I know that mosquitoes do carry a host of different things. Grenada, no vaccinations. Here we go. Guam, Guatemala, vaccination, yellow fever. Okay. New Guinea, yes, I know New Guinea would have it. Guyana. So wait, French Guyana doesn't have a requirement for yellow fever vaccination, but Guyana does. But you notice that French Guyana is not under super amounts of governmental control, but Guyana is. This is interesting. Haiti has it. So Honduras doesn't. Listen, family, if you get a chance to just call me, maybe I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Okay, so you say, Flurburn, you're going too far. I don't know if it's me, but I'm looking at countries that neighbor each other, and one country I know doesn't have as much governmental control. Honduras doesn't have a need for you to get a yellow fever vaccination, but Costa Rica does. But Costa Rica is right next to Honduras. Do you understand the insidiousness and the hypocrisy? Like, it doesn't even make sense. So, okay, Iceland, I know Europe, you don't have to get it. Okay, India, vaccination. Indonesia, yes. Iran, no. But Iraq, yes. Wait. Iran, so the countries that are not governmentally controlled by neo-Nazis, listen, because Iran is really, if you ever met Iranians, they're absolutely, I'm not promoting Iranian friendship, but I've met many Iranians, especially they're very educated, especially in college. Iranians are very progressive. And I noticed their country, there isn't a requirement for any vaccinations. Interesting. But Iraq, you do. Ireland, no. Okay, I know in Europe, no. Hold on. Israel, okay, so Israel, so places, Israel doesn't require any vaccination for yellow vaccination, but the neighboring Palestine does? Wait, I gotta drink some cinnamon water. I can't. I really can't. Wait. Where are we? Do they think we're idiots? Like they're really banking on the fact that you won't research, right? They're banking that you just look at the country that you're going to travel to, but you won't look at the host of other countries. Why would one country right here have a requirement for you to get a vaccination and the other one's right next door? So basically there's no requirement. So the people next door are going back and forth. You know that, right? I can't. Wait. Jordan, vaccination. Kenya, yes. North Korea, where they're more independent, where they're not following the American snakes, the United Snakes. There's no vaccination there in North Korea, nor in South Korea. Kuwait, yes. Laos, okay, I think that's in Southeast Asia, is that correct? Lebanon, yes. Liberia, yes. Libya, yes. Lithuania, no. It's ringing, baby. Madagascar, yes. Okay, I understand, but wait a second. Okay, so I'm gonna ask, I know I'm going off on a tangent. Babe, it's going off. Cookie. Hold on. We're gonna have to get into this discussion. Hold on. Hey, Cookie, Cookie. It's ready. B. It's right here. I put it on the dish already. That one's for your sister, this one's for yours. Okay. Okay, sorry. Okay. Okay, sorry. I think everybody's still here. Are you still here? Okay. All right, I have a couple minutes. I have to actually leave an appointment. Okay, so family, this is my thing, and I know you guys are talking amongst each other. This one over there. I know you guys are talking amongst each other. This one over there. That's yours. That's yours. What's interesting about this is that there is a push for vaccinations everywhere. And I understand that because someone just texted me before. Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, William Hanna. I appreciate it. There's a push for vaccinations. Thank you, William Hanna. I appreciate it. There's a push for vaccinations, but what's not making sense to me is that if they're saying you're coming from places where you're susceptible to having yellow fever, because I had to reevaluate what they're saying. It says vaccination certificate for yellow fever required if arriving from an infected area within 5 days. Some have 90 days, some have 30 days. So basically, if you're arriving from another area, I get that. So basically, if you're arriving from another area, I get that. But the point of the matter is, what does it matter when you have places like Honduras? I want to use Honduras and Costa Rica because I know they're very soft borders. So if Costa Rica has that, how did nature not travel from Honduras to Costa Rica? And Costa Rica has that, how did nature not travel from Honduras to Costa Rica in a car, and there wasn't any requirements for vaccinations? That's why I know it's a push governmentally, because there are people traveling through these borders where you have a country here that doesn't require the vaccination and a country here. But what I'm noticing just on this doesn't require the vaccination and a country here. But what I'm noticing just on this website is the countries that I know that are down with the United States of America, that are very close and in agenda-wise, they're the ones requiring those vaccinations. But the countries like North Korea, countries that are not in our, the countries like North Korea, countries that are not in our, in our normal repertoire of doing anything with, Iran, countries that are not, let me look for Venezuela. Hold on, let me see Venezuela's. Hold on. Let me see if Venezuela has it. They probably don't even have Venezuela on here. Hold on, let me see. Don't even have Venezuela on here. Hold on, let me see. Because I'm just saying, okay, Paraguay, yes. Peru, yes. Vaccinations. Philippines, yes. Puerto Rico. Wait a second. So you know I've traveled to Puerto Rico. I haven't. Wait a second. So you know I've traveled to Puerto Rico. I haven't ever been asked. Any of my Boniquas on here? Any of our Puerto Rican family on here? Which Puerto Rican person that you know? Because we had a host of big up to our Puerto Rican population in Orlando. Orlando has like the boomingest Puerto Rican in Orlando. Orlando has like the boomingest Puerto Rican population. There hasn't been a Puerto Rican that I knew personally, any of our Boniqua family in here. Can you testify whether or not you were required to get a vaccination going back home to Puerto Rico, or were you required one to come to the States? Because apparently they're saying that Puerto Rico might have yellow fever as you were required one to come to the States. Because apparently they're saying that Puerto Rico might have yellow fever as an issue. But I know tons of Puerto Ricans who fly here all the time, and I haven't ever heard of them ever getting a vaccination. So if our Puerto Rican family, could you let me know if that's even in the repertoire? Okay, so let me see. Romania, no. If that's even in the repertoire? Okay, so let me see. Romania, no. Russia has, Russia may have a certification for, may need certification for vaccination. St. Lucia, I know St. Lucia, when I go to St. Lucia with family, we didn't have a vaccination. I know St. Lucia, when I go to St. Lucia with family, we didn't have a vaccination. St. Martin, let's see, Samoa. Saudi Arabia, which is down with the United States of America. Interesting that they require for vaccination. So I'm starting to see a trend here that for vaccination. So I'm starting to see a trend here that all of those who are down with the United States of America are down with the agenda of getting AI and chipped. This is what I'm noticing. People who are really in alignment with mental and sociological control. In alignment with mental and sociological control. Those are the countries that I'm noticing. You can look at the list. I'm just saying, if you guys see something different, let me know. Wait, are there people on here? Thank you. Are you getting rid of? Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on. Somalia, yes. South Africa, yes. Sudan, yes. Okay, Spain, no. Sri Lanka, yes. Sudan, yes. Okay, so all these places, apparently yellow fever is of concern. Swaziland, okay. Apparently yellow fever is of concern. Swaziland, okay. Syria, yes. Tahiti doesn't have a problem with apparently anybody going back and forth. This doesn't make sense. Tanzania, Thailand, yes. Togo, yes. Thailand, yes. Togo, yes. Trinidad and Tobago. Okay, that's so close to South America. Okay, they have them on the list. Uganda, yes. Ukraine, yes. Okay, Ukraine, it doesn't say exactly what they need vaccine, yes. Okay, Ukraine, it doesn't say exactly what they need vaccinations for. Uruguay, okay, that's in South America. I don't even see, Venezuela, okay, Venezuela, they're on here too, okay. Venezuela, they're on here too, okay. Yemen, Zambia, Zimbabwe. Okay, so I'm looking at all the countries. It just doesn't make sense to me. Call me sensibly paranoid, but I'm just seeing that there is a global agenda to keep people sensibly controlled through vaccinations, which we know has all kinds of nanotechnology. They're probably chipping people. That's the least of your concern. The least thing that they're doing is chipping people. That's the least of your concern. The least thing that they're doing is chipping. Let me just explain this. It's my opinion. It's my opinion. The least that they're doing is chipping people for biolocating people and controlling their ebbs and flow and monitoring them. That's the least that they're doing. The more diabolical aspect of what they're doing is that they're doing. The more diabolical aspect of what they're doing is chemicalizing and controlling the ebb and flows of your genomes, or shape-shifting your very genetics and making it more cohesive to mind control. This is diabolical. We need mind control. This is diabolical. We need to be more proactive. And I know, listen, one thing I say is that I personally know that there are so many, everyone, and this is where I love parents. There's a lot of advocacies that are really working on getting some form of a lot of people who are working against making mass vaccinations a regularity in our communities. I know tons of people. I know more people doing that than working to help children get out of I know more people doing that than working to help children get out of very sketchy situations. So there are a lot of people working in alignment to try to, especially Gail's one of them. I'm probably going to have her back on the show again to talk about vaccinations. So statewide, we know that there's requirements with children, and they're making it harder. So statewide, we know that there's requirements with children, and they're making it harder and harder for parents to keep on their exemptions. So for those parents who actually have, look in the chat. Okay, hold on. No one said look in the chat. What's in the chat? What happened in the chat? Okay. What's going on? I'm in a time loop? Is something going on? I'm looping? I'm glitching? Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate it. Okay, so they're saying I'm looping. Oh, wow. Okay, hold on. Okay, what is going on? Okay, can everyone see me? Okay, can you see me? Is everyone on here? Okay, you can, okay. That's crazy. I didn't see anything. I was talking to you. Everything on my end was fine. You guys said it was looping. I didn't even see the loop. Probably something I was saying. Wow. You already know how they get down on this page. Obviously, you know, everyone knows how it gets down. You know, you've been on this page for a long period of time. Can't stop, won't stop. They will attempt to stop certain messages, but we will continue to listen. And okay, it's repeating. All good is now? Okay. Okay, everybody here? All right? Okay, I'm sorry about that. I can't help what they do, and especially when the AI decides that the message that I'm sharing with you, that's why I say, family, when you know that somebody is in alignment with saying something that is out of alignment with their agenda, their shows won't go unhinged. I've watched whistleblower shows, and there isn't one glitch. I'm not saying I'm the bomb.com, but it's just interesting that a little old mom like me from Mount Vernon, New York, who's a contactee, my channel is the most glitched out of everyone's. I've watched whistleblowers talk about ETs, UFOs, and nothing happens on their channel. It just goes to show you there are certain things that they will let some people share, and others they won't let. And maybe because I'm based in unity consciousness, that's what big up to Fiji Girl said. She said maybe it's because I'm based in unity consciousness that there's too many different types of people on this channel. I mean, we have people we have beings from every solar system on this channel, but we have people from every country because I represent a multicultural, multi-international background. I represent that just in my very being. So our family comes from everywhere. So we have family on here who speaks totally different tongues. They look totally different. They come from all different places, and I'm really appreciative of that. So that could be why this channel is the most accepted, because we come from such a very wide spectrum of perspectives and personalities and nationalities, which I'm grateful for. So what I'm gonna say, family, because I'm not gonna stay long, I actually have an appointment. I want you to, everyone on here, I know you're from different countries. Can you please state if you've traveled out of the country anytime within the last 6 months to a year, if you were required to do any vaccinations? If there's anyone on here who's really privy of yellow fever and what causes yellow fever, because yellow fever, as to my knowledge, is basically something that you catch from just being in the tropics. Certain mosquitoes carry certain bacterial infections that they can pass along person to person, and it can cause fevers or adrenal failure or things of that nature. So I know that that is a plausible reason why this would be of concern. But I'm telling you, family, I came from the United States of America, traveled all the way to Bahia in the middle of the Amazon jungle. Not in the Amazon, but you know, I'm being really exaggerating. I was in the middle of the jungle, and I came back, and there hasn't been any knock at my door from the CDC. There hasn't been anybody who said, oh, you can't get on the plane because you need to be in quarantine. So if it's valid, the vaccinations, by the very nature of me traveling all the way there and back, wouldn't it make sense that they would have implemented that to myself? Because it's all smoke and mirrors. So we are our best resources. We can't rely on anyone else getting information to us. We give it to ourselves, and we share it amongst people at the same frequency and vibration. Please, and okay, so let's start. Yeah, you can start getting ready. So for those who are traveled, I just ask that you put it below. And all those mothers who have exemptions, I had gotten an exemption in Orlando. So anyone, any mother, any father, any abuela, anybody who's requiring for any father, any abuela, anybody who's requiring for knowledge on the exemptions, you can always contact me via, I'll read their comments. And anyone in other regions like Arizona, we have Gail. Gail's always on our feed. She can also give information on the exemptions that are based in Arizona. Also, our New York brethren, they're really doing a push for eliminating the exemptions that many New Yorkers, one thing as a New Yorker, there was one thing that we could always vet out, that exemptions were going to hold strong for most of our children going through college. So for those mothers in New York, can you kind of keep everybody in loop, especially those mothers who are pregnant now? And this is my advice for especially those mothers who are pregnant now. And this is my advice for any pregnant mother or anyone planning to give birth to any child, any beautiful seed right now. Based on my opinion of what I know, just as a mother, not as a doctor, not as a facilitator, there isn't any reason that you need to get a shot unless the baby's life is at risk. I'm saying maybe there's heart issues or otherwise. I'm talking about vaccination-wise. During the duration of your pregnancy or prior to you being pregnant. When you give birth to your child, the best recommendation I can as a mother who nursed my babies until nearly 5 years old, I have 2 daughters, the best advice I can give you as a mother is to make sure that after you give birth to your child that you stay in a nice enclave of safety without exposure to too many people, and basically nurse your child and give them the boosted immune system and the immunization that a mother gives naturally, and eat local foods, fruits and fruits. If you eat meats, it should only be farm meats from your local area. Remember, the cows and animals graze on local grass, which also builds the immunity of that animal. If you're a meat eater, if you're a fruit and vegetarian or vegan, you should only, while nursing, only consume things that are local. Stop buying things, cease from buying things from like other regions. If you're based in North America, all of your fruits and vegetables should be local and in season if you are a nursing mother. It is very important for you to do so. So I know they're going to mess with the feed. You could probably watch it after the fact. I'm sorry that it's happening. This is very important. Pay attention. Make sure that you're very proactive, and make sure you only do what you feel comfortable for yourself and definitely for your offspring. All right, family, I love you. I'm going to let you go, and we'll probably continue this conversation in a little area. Okay? Love you. Peace.